Son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Maximum Overdrive, the 1986 horror movie that I actually find to be much more of a comedy than anything else. Because I gotta tell you, I laugh at this movie and with this movie more than I am like creeped out by it or anything like that. I think there are parts of it that are pretty entertaining and in the way that the film was intended. But overall, I think there is a lot of absurdity to this film. I mean, the acting is not good for the most part, and the whole concept kind of falls apart. It seems in a number of sequences. And there's just not really any moments that I find even remotely scary, which is amazing because this movie was written and directed by Stephen King. I mean, one of the greatest horror writers of all time. I mean, a guy who just I love watching so many of the movies he is involved with. I mean, he didn't directly have his fingers on them, but they're based on his words and his novels. I love so many of those films, and to see that this one where he had his fingerprints all over it, and for me, for the most part, if you're looking at it in the intended fashion, it totally sucks. Really blows me away. Now, from what I do understand, when he made this movie, he was in the thralls of addiction and he was getting high and drunk or whatever. I don't know exactly what drugs or whatever he was doing, or if it was alcohol or whatever. I haven't looked into it too deeply, but he was under the influence throughout, and that may explain why some of it doesn't work at all, at least in my personal opinion. Because I mean, there are so many moments, I mean, that just do not work. Right off the hop, I mean, one of the moments right at the beginning of this movie. For those of you who don't know what this movie is about, essentially, there's this meteor, I believe, that passes over the planet, and all of a sudden the machinery comes to life and is trying to kill humanity. And one of the first moments is this guy who is a little league coach, and he's going to get pops for the kids and all that, and all of a sudden the machine is shooting the pops out of his forehead, and it kills him with a pop to the forehead. And it's so laughable because, one, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. The machine wouldn't have the ability to do that. I mean, at worst it could do is just like hold on to his money and not give him the pop. It doesn't have the mechanism to be able to do what it does. It's just ridiculous and stupid. And it's right at the beginning of the movie. So as I'm watching, I'm like, what? No. And I mean, there are parts there's a lawnmower, and there's the guy who gets killed basically by his kitchen utensils and not utensils, but machinery and the little small machines, and it's like, just walk away from it, dude. You would have been I mean, there's stuff like that right at the beginning of this movie, which to me kind of completely breaks the reality, because again, none of those machines would have any ability to be any actual threat to any human being, as long as they weren't like ridiculous and exposing themselves to it in ways that they shouldn't. And I mean, you can read into that whatever you want, but for me, that just completely takes away from it. And this movie stars Emilio Estevez. Emilio! An actor I have always loved. I mean, I remember watching Young Guns as a kid, and Mighty Ducks, and so many of the classic movies that I just look back on his career with so much affection. And this one, he's trying his best. He is basically the hero of the film. He's the guy who's trying to lead this pack of survivors in this diner that's been surrounded by a bunch of trucks that are trying to kill it. And he's trying to come up with ways for them to get out alive, and basically leading them throughout this whole thing. And I think as far as the character is written, I think he does a solid job for sure. The problem is of course, to me, most of it is pretty ridiculous, so it's hard to take him seriously. So even though, he's committed and I think does a pretty great job overall, it doesn't really work. And another actor that you'll recognize, at least vocally, is Yeardley Smith is in this. And if you don't know who that actress is, she is the person who provides the voice of Lisa Simpson, which is funny because throughout the entire film, I mean, she did not stretch her voice at all when she voiced Lisa. That is her voice. So all of a sudden she'll be showing up and you'll just be hearing Lisa Simpson and coming out of this woman's mouth, and it's quite something and interesting. I mean, to me, this movie just doesn't work overall. I don't hate it by any stretch of the imaginations. That I'll take parts of it, and I find it entertaining to watch. And there are definitely parts of it I enjoy. Speaking of which, there's the one truck with the goblin face that always reminded me of the Green Goblin. I think that totally works, and it gives the truck a lot more personality than all of the rest of them, even though it is completely artificial, but that works for the concept of the film. So for me, I thought that was a really standout element of this film. And also, this movie has a fantastic soundtrack put together by AC/DC. I mean, it's Who Made Who, Hell's Bells. I mean, it goes on and on. Just so many great classic AC/DC songs, which really, at moments, you'll be kind of, or at least I was when I was watching, kind of like laughing at, and then all of a sudden a great AC/DC track will come on and be like, I'm back in. And then something dumb happens, and I'm back out, and then back in with more. And it just kind of takes me all over the place. I enjoy this movie. I think it is a very poorly made film, but a film that I enjoy because it is so ridiculous and over the top. It is not one I would recommend for people that are looking to go in and watch something that's going to freak them out. So I personally don't understand how anybody could find this movie freaky, but I have a good time when I watch it every time. It's just not in the way that it was intended. So those are my thoughts on Maximum Overdrive. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. If you're a fan, if you disagree with me about how it's enjoyable in the intended fashion, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It does awesome things for my channel because it'll let other people know that this video exists, and they can hopefully come check it out and subscribe and all that good stuff. And speaking of which, if you're new here, you just haven't done it yet, like I just said, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you find out when I put out a new video, and you can come and check them out and join the conversation, because I love talking to movies, and it would just absolutely make my day if you were one of the people who would come and join in the conversation. Other than that, have yourself a good day.